is the people in the drive-through. I work at Taco Bell. So when they have like the cigarette in there, I'm like, Jesus.
All right. Anybody else have anyone want to help? Anybody want to help out? So what I think of when I hear the word cigarette, I typically tend to think of like my mom. My mom and my dad, they're like all about that stuff. They're super into cigarettes. All right. So let me tell you real quick. Here's a little fact. So teens whose parents have ever smoked ever in their life are more likely to have their son or daughter or something pick up a cigarette as well and eventually develop those habits. Like if you ever see somebody who let's say you know, out of curiosity, people just out of pure curiosity would like want to pick up a cigarette to see what it's like, you know. But obviously most of the people that I know now, they're not into that, right? Nobody's into that here, are they? Okay. So let's go on to our more knowledgeable part. So we're going into three major components. Now these three major components are the things that what makes up a cigarette, all right? Not necessarily like what exactly is in it, but more like the things that are bad factors. So the first one we got up here is nicotine. That's the thing that causes addiction, all right? You're gonna hear that term a lot as I go through these slides, all right? So the next one is gonna be tar. It's also a poisonous carcinogen. Carcinogen derives from the term cancer, so it's a cancer-causing agent, and it pretty much forms when the tobacco cools on the end of your cigarette. Right here we got carbon monoxide. Have you guys ever heard of ADT? Anybody? ADT, advanced something.
Like the security system?
Yeah, like the security thing. They mentioned carbon monoxide is dangerous because for one, it doesn't have a scent, and two, it's pretty much smoke. So anything smoke related goes into your lungs, comes out, it's bad because it ruins your respiratory system, all right? And that's pretty much like, as it says right there, it's pretty much the oxygen or whatever, the smoke that's inhaled inside from the cigarette. All right, now here's the question now. Why do people smoke? Now there are three reasons why people tend to smoke, all right? Again, that one that I mentioned earlier was nicotine, which is the addiction part, the little addiction agent inside a cigarette, all right? Now it could also be a physical form, or it could be, you know, something else. Right here we got situational triggers. So like for instance, say that I were to go ahead and pull out my phone, right? It's just me and somebody else. Say it's me and Simon's, right? Yeah? All right, so I pull out my phone. We have nothing to do. What do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna pull out his phone too, right? Have you guys ever noticed that? Like you pull out your phone, someone else pulls out their phone. It's pretty much like the same thing. That's a situational trigger. So if I were to pull out a cigarette, somebody's gonna wanna, you know, whip out their cigs too. And then we got emotional triggers. If you ever think of like in movies or in some sort of thing, people tend to, when they're depressed, they tend to pull out, I don't know, some alcohol or something, just to forget the bad memories or some things like that. Am I right? So that's like pretty much the same thing with the cigarette. It serves as a stimulant. So if you guys ever play Call of Duty Modern Warfare, there's that little stim thing you stick in your stomach and, you know, you feel better all of a sudden. That's pretty much like with an emotional trigger, you know, with a cigarette, things like that. All right, Surgeon General reports. Just before we go on, when you think of general, like in the word, when you think of general, what do you guys think?
The basic, like general. When you think of general, you think of the common.
Basic, right?
General David Burger.
General, what is that?
David Burger.
Okay, yeah, that's the type of general I was actually looking for. So, Surgeon General, that's the person who's in charge of the health department, okay? And then the reports is obviously, you know, a formal paper or something like that. So, all right, so here we're gonna know the facts real quick. So this is a 1994 report from the CDC. Right here it says people who actually smoke are 3 times more likely to use alcohol, 8 times more likely to use marijuana, and then 20 times more likely to surprisingly use cocaine, which is actually strange, but that is true. Yes, sir?
CDC.
CDC is Center for Disease Control, sir. Okay. Any more questions, guys? Okay. All right. So Surgeon General report: smoking is bad for you. All right. So I'm going through like every single like topic that's inside my packet. Surgeon General report: smoking is bad for you. We obviously know that so far from the little things that I was talking about. Right here we got short term and we got long term effects of smoking. What happens to you? Here's some of the short terms. Let's read off like like the first two. So you get damage towards your respiratory system, like I had mentioned. When you pick up that cigarette, you light it up and you smoke it, it's going to be bad. Anything goes inside your body and it comes out like that, it's very bad. That's not how your body's meant to handle things, all right? It's meant to breathe in air and blow out the carbon dioxide. There you go. and you develop addiction to nicotine. Like I said, very addicting. You just don't want to stop once you light up that cigarette. All right, and I don't know about you guys, but dude. All right, long term. Let's go into long term real quick. So look at this right here. All of this. Those are kind of big words that you guys probably don't know. So right here we got like developed bronchitis. So that's something that's like, if you ever seen people like cough a lot, that's pretty much because it's hard for them to take in air, right? You got things like, oop, let me see. I apologize about that. All right, so you get bladder cancer, you develop COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So that's like a combination of like two things, like for instance, like bronchitis and something else. It pretty much forms a mucus within your lungs, and it makes it hard for you to take in or blow out air, all right? So that's pretty much that. And then at the bottom, you guys can see death, which, you know, we all die. Going back into nicotine, all right, nicotine. It's described as a toxic, scentless, but yet yellowish, kind of like if you guys ever to pee, all right, let's put that in those terms. If you were to pee, it has like that light yellowish, that's considered healthy. In this term, this is not healthy. You know, nicotine is very addictive. I've mentioned this before. Right here, we got like different terminology used with it. You got arsenic, cigar, poison. You got butt and fag. All right, fag is like a single cigarette stick. You'll see British people typically use that, like, hey, pass me a fag, mate, you know, something like that. So this is the closest, most purest form of nicotine. Now there was another picture that was about 70%, and it was pretty yellow. Not too yellow, but like a dimmish yellow, pretty much like this. But, you know, fill it the same amount. It looks pretty much like water, right? But in reality, this right here, just this small dosage could kill you like that. I'm telling you, it's crazy. All right, so addiction and dependence. Now, when you guys think of dependence, what do you guys typically think of?
Dependence, well, when I depend on something, I need it like at all times.
Exactly, that's pretty much the same thing, right? That's what I'm looking for. You rely on it. Your body needs to rely on it, or your psychological, your mental state needs to rely on it. Addiction and dependence. Addiction, you guys probably think of like a crack addict in like a back alley of like, I don't know, some New York street or subway. And you're just like, man, whatever happened to those dudes, right? So let's go on into the next slide. Here's that Surgeon General reports. They report something else, right? All forms of tobacco are addicting, no matter what it is, whether if it's chew snuff, dip, if it's a hookah or some sort of water pipe, whether if it's, you know, cigarettes or cigars, something like that, patches, disposables, as addictive as heroin and cocaine. Like I had mentioned earlier, 22 times more likely to pick up cocaine after you pick up a cigarette and smoke it, because it's also known as a gateway drug. When you think of a gateway, you think of you're opening this door up and then you're opening it to more paths. Am I right? Everybody tracking? Any questions so far? Okay. So, teenagers making a decision to smoke. Now, I want to ask you guys real quick. Let me get a raise of hands. I need some participants real quick. Somebody that's not been called yet. Now, when you think of a teenager smoking, what do you think the reasons why they smoke are?
Work, home, distress total.
Stress, okay? Take that.
Okay, so emotional problems?
Emotional, yeah, I guess we could do that. And then
Antidepressant drug?
antidepressant, pretty much like stress, you know? Take it.
Depressed.
Yeah, pretty much like the same thing, because it's like relieve stress, right?
On certain occasions though, like sometimes if, say if someone goes to a party, oh yeah, let me smoke something real quick so I can look cool or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, to look cool. You know what, let me tell you actually, there are 4 reasons why teenagers decide to smoke. Let's get into it real quick. Peer pressure. If you guys have ever been peer pressured in doing something or doing somebody's work,
All the time.
I see that a lot.
All the
a lot.
time.
Be honest, I see that a lot. like, come on, man. He took like, I don't know, he took like 3 hits. He finished the whole cigarette by himself. Come on, you gotta try it too. Same thing, right? People wanting to fit in, they want to look cool. Who mentioned that, by the way?
Oh,
Simons, yeah, good on you for that. Good on you for that. People wanting to fit in, they want to feel like they're grown pretty much. They want to become adults. That's the reason why they tend to pick up cigarettes at such a young age. Relieve stress. Diaz, I remember you had said that. That's pretty much like I told you, the cigarette at the beginning is also known as a depressant. And then pure curiosity, you know, there's people who just wonder, like, you know what, why did my mom and dad pick up the cigarette? Why did they do that? You know, I want to try that too. Let me see what it's like. You know, you can't hate on it if you don't try it, right? So it's like, alright, don't take that, alright? But like, that's typically what they'll think of when you think of that, alright? Right here, I got a video. This is from Amanda Green. I'm pretty sure you had mentioned about this, but we'll go ahead and show the people who haven't seen it. It's pretty popular. It came out in like 2013.
Hi, Amanda Green. At the point in my life, I'm not a kid anymore.
Something's going on here. Somebody assist me with this.
The whole projector.
What happened?
The whole projector just went down. Just wait.
Do I have to start it up again?
There you go.
Okay, dope.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Alright, just go ahead and play it like that.
I, Amanda Green, at the point in my life when I'm not a kid anymore. Now that I finally have freedom to define who I am, I hereby agree to be bound to you, to let you decide how I spend my money, to let you set my boundaries, and to come running the instant you snap your fingers. With this contract, I relinquish part of my freedom to you.
There's a contract in every cigarette. When you light up, you sign up. Don't let tobacco control you.
Alright, so when you light up, you sign up. Like as she was showing, typically people who smoke, they don't have enough time to do the hobbies that they love or be able to hang out with friends that they enjoy hanging out with. Anything like that, it takes up your time, it takes up your hobbies, and it distracts you, alright? We'll get into that a little bit more later on. Physical and psychological, you know, physical meaning like, you know, your body and all that. Psychological meaning your mentality, your state. And then also dependence, we all know that it means relying on something, right? Alright, so what happens when you stop? You get physical and then you also get the psychological things, you know, that I mentioned earlier. So the second that you stop, like, it's not, you're not gonna notice it, but after like, let's say 2 to 3 weeks pass by and you haven't, you know, picked up a cigarette, you're gonna start feeling a little bit different, and trust me, you'll notice this. Actually, let me tell you a story real quick. So about last year, I think I went to New Mexico. I was in Albuquerque, and my dad decided to stop smoking cigarettes. He was like, you know what? I want to be able to hang out with my son and then, you know, live a little bit longer to see him grow up, right? He stopped smoking, and about like, let's say 2 to 3 weeks passed by. I noticed he started acting different. Like, not only, well, for one, because he's bipolar, but, you know, he controls that with over-the-counter medications. But for two, when he stopped smoking, he just didn't know what to do. There's like literally nothing to do there in New Mexico, but like it's just freaking desert, so you could probably play like, you know, soccer in the desert or something like that. So he doesn't have anything to do because he took so much time. Like let's say every hour he would pick up a cigarette straight out the box, and like he would have like, you know, packs of 10 or 20 or whatever boxes of cigarettes just waiting. But yeah, he would have that, and that's all he ever did pretty much was just smoke cigarettes. And that's what I knew him for growing up, because every time I hung around him, I noticed that he would be smoking cigarettes, and so would my mom too. So let me go ahead and read to you real quick the physical things. I noticed when he would sit down at the kitchen table, he would always have his hands over his head, like he's like, you know, like he's trying to think or whatever. But in reality, he's having, you know, headaches and migraines because your body needs to depend on this when you have it for so long. Have you guys ever seen the movie Lucy or heard of it?
Oh.
Lucy, yep, you know, she needs that drug inside her stomach or whatever, you know, to operate, but somehow she gets smarter. Pretty much like the same thing, except you don't get smarter, you get stupider. Alright, it's like reverse Lucy, we'll call it that. Alright, so you get headaches, increased craving for nicotine. You always want to get that, you know, nicotine just so you can feel better, right? That cigarette. Tingling in your hands and feet. I noticed my dad, he couldn't just stop, like he couldn't stop pacing around. He would pace back and forth around the class just like this, or at home I meant. He would do this, and he just didn't know what to do. As soon as he sat down, he got to get up and do something because it was just bothering his hands. You know, he had to do something. Surprisingly, constipation. I mean, you guys, you know what you think of when you get to constipation. You can't get that sucker out, you know? Right? Difficulty in concentrating. Because he's feeling these type of things, he's not going to be able to focus. He can't do the things that he wants to do, like hang out with me or anything, because he's having a tough time focusing on whatever it is that he's doing, whether it's reading a contract or reading anything or being able to tell me something or teach me something. Psychological, you get depression, grief. So that means like you're always constantly feeling sad, right? you're always feeling sad and you feel like you have a sense of loss. I think I put that, yeah, I put that on the next one actually. You get angry. Now the reason you get angry is because you start feeling like it's bothering you to the point where you have to have that cigarette, otherwise you're gonna die. But in reality, when you pick up that cigarette, you're only killing yourself more. And I'm telling you guys, I want to take care of you guys. I want you guys to live long so we could all, be future successors and things like that. Yes, sir.
So what if I want to quit? How can I quit this?
We actually have a slide covering that, like towards the end of the slide, the end of the last slide. I'll get right into that, sir. Restlessness, anxiety, like I said, that feeling of depression and all that all ties in, correlates with each other. Now, let me go ahead and read this real quick. A lot of people tend to laugh on this. Tobacco is tobacco is tobacco is tobacco. I think I said that 3 times, right? So no matter what, tobacco is always going to be tobacco. And that's just the way it's going to be. I don't know any other way to explain it. But right here we got little pictures and like things that I mentioned before. Cigarettes, cigars, disposables. You got water pipes. You got chew snuff dip, electronic cigarettes. You guys think of, I know you guys know somebody that does Juuls, right? Yeah, be dealing those little things that look like USB sticks, but it's not. You just smoke out of it like straight nicotine. It's pretty much like a cigarette, but without the burning part. Right here you got a cigar, you got the hookah, which is also known as the water pipe. People tend to look at the little disposables or the eatables. It's like that right there. Literally looks like Tic Tacs. That's what they are, those nicotine pills. And right here, Skull, I'm pretty sure you guys know about that, Major Gonzalez. So this right here, Skull, this is a brand of chewing tobacco. Now, literally on the can, it says, warning, this product can cause mouth cancer. And I'm going to go ahead and get into that later on, guys. Now, I'm telling you, all this stuff, no matter what it may be, it's bad. But people who think that if there's any good thing to it, there is nothing good at it at all. Literally nothing. Except for maybe, you get a little bit high or something like that. Head high. Now, this was actually a question in the packet itself. Is it better to smoke cigars? Can anybody answer that?
No.
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 No. Alright, now what about smokeless tobacco? There's actually another one. I don't know why I didn't put it up in there, but it wasn't in the packet. Anyways, smokeless tobacco, like how I mentioned earlier, the chew, the stuff, the dip, the thing you put in your lip. Pretty much, that rhymes. Ooh, that's so good. That's bars. Anyways, you also have these things, disposables, like the eating ones, and then you also have things like nicotine patches. You take those, you put it on your shoulder or something like that, and you just, you get that same high that you do with a cigarette or chew or something like that. Anybody have any questions so far? Any what ifs? Nothing? Okay, let's go into this. So this right here is a picture of a person who suffered from mouth cancer and is currently getting surgery for that. All right. He is known as the Outdoor Texan, actually. So if you go ahead and take a look, right over here, this little tube is so that way he can breathe. He cannot breathe through his mouth because his mouth is so, inflamed with whatever that thing is in there, that cancer or whatever that they're taking out, that malignant tumor, pretty much. He cannot breathe without that. So he's forever going to have that hole in his throat. Another thing, right here, this little bracket on his jaw, they're about ready to take that out, and you'll see what it looks like afterwards, all right? But tell me, do you guys think that looks pretty nasty? Yeah, I think it looks pretty nasty too. I mean, ugh, disgusting. Anyways, that's that. So right here, signs of oral cancer. This is the picture I was talking about earlier with what they were doing with that surgery. They're pretty much removing his jaw so that way they can make sure that the cancer does not spread anywhere throughout his body and end up killing him later on. Everybody understand that so far? Cool? Okay. So these are the signs of oral cancer. I don't really need to say much. It's kind of obvious. You've seen the guy. He looked pretty fat in the neck, Things like that, swelling in the neck. You get a lump in your cheek. Looks like a big golf ball or jawbreaker if you ever think of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Pretty much like that. Difficulty swallowing or chewing, obviously because your mouth is so inflamed. Trouble moving your jaw. You have weight loss because you can't take in any food or any beverages because it just hurts. It hurts and it bothers you, trust me. And, obviously you can't brush your teeth, so breath's gonna smell bad. Anybody got any questions so far? Great. So this is Bender, Mr. Bender. He actually had this thing last February on my birthday, February 9th. But right there you can see And trust me, I actually seen somebody like this, and I thought I wasn't crazy. I just didn't want to say nothing to be rude or anything. But you can see like his bottom mouth looks disformed, doesn't it? Now, they pretty much removed his jaw, like I said, so he does not have no bottom teeth. He cannot chew for anything. All right, you can see that they pretty much made up a chin right there. I don't know what type of bone they used there, but they pretty much made that form up back again. But he's missing a lot of parts right there in his face that you're not supposed to miss. Right there, you can see he's holding a can of Skull. Like I mentioned in that black label that was on that Skull can, it said that this product may cause mouth cancer. All right, so he actually does have more of these meetings and things like that you guys can go to. If you guys want to hear any more about it, I could pull up some more information and get to you after class. Yes.
Have you ever seen a video of him talking? Like how he...
Honestly, after seeing that Sergey the Outdoor Texan, I didn't want to see anymore, honestly. I was just like, you know what? And plus I was eating at the time.
Outdoor Texan?
Yeah, that's what they call him, the Outdoor Texan, you know. It's only, I don't know, keep his name discreet or something. That's
Alright,
like the
family,
thing.
here. Let's keep going, next slide.
Okay, diseases associated with
Next
smoking.
slide. Next slide. Okay. Keep going.
Okay, secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke is like when you think of it like in
Keep going.
casinos or something like that. People get that. Tobacco and athletic performance. Okay, obviously, 50% of people who actually have
Keep going.
some sports activity or something like that. Okay.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
That's pretty much it, sir.
Okay, do you have any activity or anything?
I do, sir. I do actually. It's like a little quiz thing that I have, but I need everybody to go ahead and pull out a sheet of paper, please. Sheet of paper, pen, pencil, whatever. I'm gonna have you guys answer 5 questions. Can I erase this, or yeah, I'll use this side.
You can erase everything you want.
Yeah, most people are on this side anyway.
So, right now, you're gonna give them a quiz, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many questions?
It's only 5, sir. Only 5 quick questions.
Alright, so that's it, you're good. Alright, so what do we think?
Amazing, absolutely
It was awesome.
Amazing.
Okay, honestly, the only thing I can think of right now, the only thing is just that, sources. If I yet want to quit smoking, okay, and I asked a question earlier, and now I'm like, I can't see that. Make it where people can read it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but other than that, I mean, it was phenomenal, I'll be honest with you.
Thank you, sir.
You know, honestly, what is good of presentations I gave, I would just be careful about not getting overly confident. Okay, so you don't have an issue here, I mean, it's a phenomenal job. But in the future, if you're briefing people that outrank you, and you have that potential to do that, that you don't get so confident with your skills that you say something like, hey, guys, about your dad, but I'll be honest with you, like, that's not the time, that's not the point, okay? So people are gonna be like, hey, Marie, your dad's bipolar, like, you all right? You gotta be careful with stuff like that, I'm
Yes, sir.
telling you. And maybe not in front of people, but next thing you know, like, hey, Colonel so-and-so wants to see me, you know, or worse, is like, I don't know, somebody was like, hey, dug into your medical record as soon as you mentioned that, and that was, like, you gotta be careful, just giving information like that out. Plus that, it's kind of a privacy thing. You know what I'm saying? It is. You don't want to blast family information like that out in public.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
But anybody have anything?
You did amazing. I'm just gonna say it was just flat out just like perfect.
Thank you.
One thing, because I kept smiling a lot. I was so close to laughing, literally, because it was contagious. You know, come over here just like, okay. The more you keep smiling, I'm gonna just burst out laughing in the middle of your presentation. You know, that would be kind of disrespectful. So next time, like, you know, be a little bit like, you were serious. I liked it. Be a little bit more serious, like, you know, facial expression wise, because, you know, all that smiling and whatnot, you know, it made Simon's laugh a little bit, you know, too loud.
Well, I thought it worked to his advantage though.
Yes.
'Cause at first I was like, all right, his buddies are hooking him up. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is really well rehearsed because they're hooking him up that much. So your energy transferred to energy here.
Right.
I think it was amazing as well because I think Major has a point as well. We all watch those commercials. It's always being advertised, stop smoking. And do we really pay attention? We never do. We never do. We just ignore it. Even on YouTube, there's ads about it, but we just skip them easily. But you adding a little bit of humor in it, you saying facts, talking about what you're knowing, it was actually really nice. It was well presented with humor in it too as well.
Okay.
Well, it made him sound really, I mean, he was prepared. Not
He
just
was.
a slide, but giving information beyond just the actual slide.
Right. So I wanted to go into real quick with that. The reason that I was doing the humor and all that and the smiling is because, think about it, like whenever you go into a commercial or something like that and you see one of these about like, you know, stop smoking and all that, it's usually all depressing, like, oh, this person's having a sad time, this person lost this person lost that. I want to make it enjoyable because honestly, I never wanted to teach anything like this because it would be depressing, right? You know, just telling about those types of stories. So you got to keep it interesting, you know, switch it up.
Oh yeah, I know. Now, I'm not saying like, you know, it was bad and smiling. It's a good thing, like how what you're gonna listen was keeping everybody awake. I like that. But then it's like, you know, it's just not that smile. It's kind of like, somebody's gonna laugh. You know, it's gonna like, you know, interrupt your presentation and it's gonna be like, oh.
But that is, if you can get away with that, you can continue to educate and drive the point home at the same time. Now, I think what Jaquez is trying to say, if you would have done it to the point where it's a distraction, like, was it the Texas guy, outdoor Texan? You would have been like laughing and been like, oh, look at, he's got no jaw, look. You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of been like, it's kind of the same.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't think it was beyond the point where it was disrespectful.
Right.
Hey, I got a question.
Yes.
What was that little thing where you were like, does this look familiar to you, Mr. Gonzalez?
Okay. Cause like.
It goes back to the information about his dad as well, like, you don't want to do that.
Right. I didn't mean it like that, sir.
Look, right here, you know?
Sir, I didn't mean it like that. It's because usually like because I watch a lot of Terminal Lance on Instagram, so I always see them like, you know, they're making Christmas trees with the, you know, different dip cans and like that, and I was like, you know, Marines do this a lot, right? So I was like, you know, but I understand, I apologize about that.
You could easily give this class to a bunch of Marines right now. Go ahead and substitute everybody for Marines, and you're like, bam, I got it right here. Cadet Bambo, and I can do a better job than you guys can. You can do it.
Thank you, sir.
What else? What do we think about his PowerPoint?
It was amazing. It was, sir, that PowerPoint was prepared for over 20 minutes. He could have easily beat 30 minutes easily.
Well, that's the whole thing. Your lesson plan called for 30 minutes, but I thought it was very specific about 20 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Which is fine, you went above and beyond, okay, but no 20 minutes is 20 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay? What else?
Get rid of the white.
I like the colors.
Colors, cool. Alright, anybody else have any questions, any tips?
When you said tobacco is tobacco, you said it 3 times. What you said?
Tobacco is tobacco is tobacco. Yeah, I did say it 4 times. But you know what I mean. You know, no matter what, tobacco is always going to be the same thing, any form.
You guys are acting like young lieutenants now.
I know.
Yeah, right.
You actually said it 2 times instead of 3 times, sir.
Remember, how many times did you practice this?
I practice it honestly twice, and then I would think about it too. Like when I'm taking a shower, I'd be practicing myself. Like,
Hey, Orlando, seriously, you're a natural speaker.
thank you,
I
sir.
can substitute this with another topic. I'd probably give you something more complex. I wish I would have given you history. Okay?
That's in mine.
But to be honest with you, because you've got the natural gift, you have to get to the gap, all right? You're gonna be challenged with more complex things than you should be. Okay, so make sure you continue, whatever works for you, keep doing it. In the shower, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I used to grab my kids, my wife, you know, at one point when my ex-wife, when we were married, everybody used to be my audience. And I would have my laptop there, and they would be clicking, next slide, and I would be giving them my PowerPoint, you know, my brief, whatever works, okay? And of course, I'd always ask for brutal criticism, because if they're brutally criticizing you, all this is easier,
Right.
okay? And of course, if they understand it, let's say something Marine Corps related, if civilians understand it, do you think people are gonna understand it? You think that bottom 1% sitting in the class here, all right, the oxygen fee from the audience, all right, do you think that they will understand? Yes. Okay, So you just keep preparing, keep rehearsing, all that stuff, all right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm telling you, the danger now is you're like, I got this. I can just BS my way through anything. No, be careful about it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so talk about his presentation style, knowledgeable, you came across knowledgeable and prepared, okay? And then you asked a lot of questions, you kept us engaged, and I think that quickly, based on your energy and based on the fact that you were asking questions, it enabled people to start getting involved.
Right.
Like I said earlier, I quickly went from like, wow, buddies are hooking them up to like, no, this is actually not a hookup. It went beyond that very quickly. So
Sir.
you fed off each other's energy, okay? Use your voice and body language very effectively. The only thing I would concern myself with is that you don't move around too much. You don't
Right.
start doing this too much where it becomes a distraction. I didn't think it was. I don't know if you guys disagree with that. You know, his hands or anything like that. All right, and then with the media. That is a perfect example of how someone with the right presentation skills can overcome having issues with the media. Even when he flipped over the slide, he went backwards like 10 slides. He was fairly able to overcome it, like it was fairly transparent to all of us. Same thing with the media. So what would have happened if the media, same issue with the media, and then he would have been like, you know, just spazzed out or like freaked out or something like that. He took care of it and moved on with his class, right? That's a good example of what to do in the event this happens, because it can happen very easily. It's what we do at this point. So what happens if somebody farts in front of you? Go ahead. Yeah, there you go. You fart again, right? Make it a joke. Laugh about it. Keep them entertained. Keep them involved. Okay? Now, if I fart and next thing you know, here come the tears, and you guys are like, God, it went from funny to tragic real quick. You know, like, I don't want to talk to Mr. Gonzalez ever again. Like, that was horrible. Okay? Whereas it's like, hey, it happened, all right? Like, whatever. That smells good, huh? Ha, ha, ha. You know? All right? So overcome any issue. But it starts with you. It starts with the individual. Okay? It's how you go about doing it. Lesson plan. Okay? Be careful with stuff like this. Okay? The reason why is it looked like you worked on beginning. Why? How do I know that? Subjects. PowerPoint presentation. Like, no, the subject is tobacco use and effects. All right? Come on. All right? And then obviously 20 minutes by 30 minutes. And then at the end, differential instruction. Like, what is that?
And where, sir?
At the end. You would know you wrote this, right? Air quotes. Yeah.
Differential instruction.
Just be careful. Make it yours.
Right,
Okay.
so those were pretty much so that way I could keep in mind like how people pay attention, because if I were to talk too much, then people wouldn't understand that. So I make sure that those are the three that I noticed like out of other presentations, people how they present. So like I noticed like sometimes I couldn't pay attention if people talk too much, and I saw pictures and that would help me understand it. So I added illustrations and things like that.
I feel like you're gonna sell me a car pretty soon. Make it yours. Because the good news is, all right, this lesson plan, something that looks more complex than this, is going to be given to you in the Marine Corps by a guy like me. All right? Hey, Corporal Bamba, here you go. Here's your lesson plan. Here's a CD with your PowerPoint. Okay, you're going to be teaching tobacco use and effects in a week to, I don't know, to a bunch of Marines. Okay? And by the way, you're going to rehearse a bunch in front of all the LE3s and LE4s during fifth period, in a couple of days. Why did you want to rehearse? Okay, just for anything. Just like, what is CDC? I'm glad you knew that. I was trying to stump you. Okay? How many people didn't know what CDC stands for? You have to be aware of that. Okay, not everybody knows what that is, especially knowing your audience.
Yes, sir.
If there was a bunch of like officers, everybody should know what CDC, they should be an officer, to be honest with you.
Right.
Surgeon General. What's Surgeon General?
In general?
Oh,
Isn't he the top surgeon?
Okay,
He's like top
essentially the top doctor in the United States, right? Okay, so I mean, just little things like that, you have to be careful about that stuff, but I'm glad you knew it. Okay, don't assume, right? Any same ground, comments, questions?
Any criticisms?
Real quick, so with the hand movement and things like that, I would actually like on my spare time, I would like look up the world's best speakers and like how I told you, sir, how I was going to those economic classes and like things that teach me about my financial stuff and all that. I would see how they would do it and like how they would open up their hands, how they would be loud and like make sure everybody's energized because it's honestly boring, if I'm being honest. But being like that would help out a lot. So and also a tip from like the top speaker in the world, he would go like this a lot, and he even mentioned that too. So I took that into effect too.
But I'm sure he would do that at certain points.
Yes, sir.
Throughout his speech.
Yes, sir. Because also too, like when you open your hands out like this and you show your palms, that means that you're more entrusting to people, and that way people are more accepting, and also people do think that it's more attractive too. So take that.
Really, Bamboo?
Yeah.
And he's right. He's right.
Yes.
One thing I have noticed, you know how Major, right before we did this project, when he announced there's gonna be a project, he said that you should watch out and try not to say, or stumble on top of words and do it so frequently to the point where we can actually tally mark it.
Mm.
I've noticed that you said one word so many times. All right.
All right.
So, all right then.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I've noticed it as well. I stand out. I was gonna tally mark it, but I got distracted. Was one of the jokes that you did. That was one of the jokes.
Perfect time.
Yeah, that's what I was doing it for. But it was actually a nice speech though. Other than that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, who's next?
All right, sir.
That's what you go to the back.